Today we're going to talk about all the big news that came out of my interview with Katja, CMO of Space Nation. A lot to cover. I'm excited. Let's get started. Hey Space Nation, Aaron here. Today is all about information that I learned today in my interview with Katja, the CMO over at Space Nation. It was a very interesting interview. I got a lot of interesting tidbits. Let's get started and jump right in. First, a little bit of a disclaimer here. I am not affiliated with Space Nation. Katja was nice enough to share some of this info with all of us, but given that it's not official information, it's a little bit unofficial as of yet, some of these things could change. They have the right to change them. The information is not 100% guaranteed, but given that Katja seems like a very forthcoming and honest person and that the company seems to be filled with a bunch of great people, I'm sure that a lot of this information will hold true moving forward. So first thing I want to talk about is the contest and the process around the contest, which I found to be really interesting. So from a high level, the contest, which we know to be the opportunity for one of us to go to space for an all expenses paid trip. It's more than a contest, though. For Space Nation, the way they're looking at it is as basically a giant casting session for a long documentary that'll be used to promote the idea of going to space all over the globe and to promote the company itself. So at a high level, it is more than just a normal contest. It's more about a documentary and educating the public and getting the public in general across the world excited about space travel. One of the first things I learned was that our original kind of assumption or the way we understand the process has been confirmed. This information is available in some articles, but not in full detail. But Katja did confirm for me that there will be a 3-step process here. There will be 100 people that selected from the app, and then from the app, those 100 people will be able to do some kind of in-person miniature boot camp. It sounds like potentially a 3-day boot camp. From all of those 100 people that participate in these mini boot camps, 12 will be selected to take place in a much larger, what seems like 10-week intensive boot camp competition, which is all going to be televised. It sounds like it could be a documentary or a television series in multiple episodes, but it will be something like that that takes place over the course of a longer period of time, a few months potentially. And from there, of those final 12, one person will be selected for the all expenses paid trip to space. So the top 100 prize is to be able to participate in these miniature competition-based boot camps. All about astronaut training, very similar stuff to what we're doing in the app, but in real life. It sounds like they're going to be like a 3-day boot camp, potentially in different locations all around the globe to make it easier for people to get there. But the qualification for the top 100 is basically based off the app and more simple than I thought it would be. It sounds like the primary way of doing that is just the all-time leaderboard. Katja mentioned that if you were in the top 100 all-time, you had a good chance of being invited. Now, that does not guarantee that you'll actually participate in those mini boot camps and actually be selected as one of the top 100. There are other qualifying criteria. It's a little bit more of just like a checklist that you have to complete. So not only will you need to be top 100-ish all time, you also need to be of legal age. So legally, they cannot have a contest with minors, which means all participants will need to be over 18. So if there are a few people that are under the age of 18 in the top 100, they will unfortunately automatically be disqualified. So they may need to go past the top 100 to find more qualified candidates. The other thing is they need to be physically capable. This will be an in-person competition. There will be physical requirements. It doesn't sound like you need to be super in shape, Olympic athlete kind of thing. It just sounds like more of a basic level of physical capability. Will you be able to travel? Will you be able to do moderate exercise? That kind of thing. More of a basic level of physical capability there. Another criteria for the top 100 is that all the participants will need to be willing and able to participate in the potential documentary series in the future. Meaning, if you're camera shy or do not want to be on television or Netflix or whatever it would be on, then you would be disqualified and you wouldn't be part of the top 100 selection. Again, this makes sense because everything is really revolving around this idea of being a giant casting for a documentary series. One of the final criteria here is that you need to be willing to be able to get yourself to the miniature boot camps, which means you may have to pay your own airfare depending on where those boot camps are located. Now, it does sound like they're going to do as much as they can to help people keep costs down by having multiple locations. Now, it sounds like there's maybe a handful at most. So it's not going to be, every country and every, continent. It might be one located in the Western Hemisphere and then a couple in, the Eastern Hemisphere. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but it will be something like that. So you will have to expect, if you do qualify for the top 100, that they probably will ask you to get yourself to that mini boot camp that will take a few days. So the quick recap on the top 100 selection is that you'll probably want to be in the top 100 all-time leaderboard or close to it. Also, you're going to want to be an adult. You need to be 18 years or older. You need to be physically able to participate. You need to be willing to be on camera. You need to be willing to get yourself to the boot camp if needed. And then that should qualify you for the top 100. Now, this will all be taking place from the months of October on until early 2019, maybe just the end of 2018. So do not expect to hear from Space Nation until October at the earliest. And the actual boot camps themselves seem like they will be taking place in early 2019, maybe a little earlier if they can, but I might expect the springtime or something like that. Now, moving on to the top 12 selection criteria. This is a little bit more vague, it's a little further out in the future, but it is something that's interesting to talk about. There's, again, this top 12 will be participating in something like a 10-week intense boot camp with a documentary series happening alongside of it. So that does mean that this is a long, intense process. It's going to be physically demanding. It's going to be mentally demanding. It's going to be everything. And it sounds like it's going to be more or less a job for a good 10 weeks. So with that in mind, we don't have all the details of how this will work. We don't know what they'll be able to pay for or what you would have to pay for, that kind of thing. It sounds like since there's only 12 people, they'll be able to swing more, but there's no guarantees on that. That is what the top 12 will be doing. The way they're going to select the top 12, again, it comes down to the idea that this would be a documentary, and being camera ready, being interesting on television, and being just a generally good fit for TV will be important. Now, you're going to have to be considered one of the best of the top 100. So whatever we're doing in those mini camps for the top 100 will have to compete at a fairly high level. But it doesn't sound like that's the main criteria. It sounds like in those top 100 mini camps, there will be an interview process. And that interview process will be on camera, and it will be designed to be more or less a casting for people to then be selected for the documentary. The time frame for all that is the first half of 2019. That's when they are shooting to have it ready to go and actually start the documentary and the boot camp and all of it. But everything is still in negotiation, so it's hard to know any definite timelines there, but it should be within a year. As far as the process for what will happen in that boot camp, we just don't know. So we don't know how the last person will be selected. So that's the process for the top 100 and the top 12. Katja shared a lot of great information. Again, this isn't 100% set in stone, but this should give us a much better idea of how we can qualify for the top 100 and what we should expect moving forward. There's some really big news that came out of my meeting today with Katja, and was that the contest has not officially started. That means current leaderboards will not have an impact or a direct impact on the top 100 selection. That is not scheduled to start until August. And what's actually going to happen is they're going to completely wipe the leaderboards, and they're going to launch not a new app, but a severely updated version of the app with a lot more games and a lot less bugs so that the contest can take place relatively seamlessly. Again, the current leaderboard should not have a direct impact on what the top 100 selection process will be. Now, I express that, that's a little concerning, it's potentially for some of us that have put a lot of hours and weeks and days into the app so far. Katja has assured me that the current leaderboard, top 100, there will be some kind of compensation. It is not 100% sure what that will be. Potentially, maybe some of the top 100, like the top 10, could get an automatic invite in October as consideration. Or there's also potential there could be coin rewards given out to folks from the top 10, top 100, who knows, moving forward, so that'll give them a better chance to move up the leaderboard quicker in the next top 100 competition that's actually coming up. So let's wrap all of this up. We know that the process for the top 100 is pretty well laid out. For people that are new users, this big news that's coming out is that this is good news for you, because you're going to be able to start at a pretty level competition moving forward. People that had started, a few weeks even ahead of when I started, they had a significant advantage as far as the leaderboard was concerned. So being able to start on a level playing field is going to be great for all new users or newer users. For those of us who have been playing for a while and spent a lot of time in this, there's really no reason to worry, and I wouldn't stop playing the game until the August one happens, because it does sound like there will be some kind of rewards. I'm not sure exactly what those are. Katja isn't even sure, but they are committed to making sure that the current leaderboard is compensated in some way. If you have any questions, please leave that in the comments section below. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and in the meantime, keep working on those points, and I will see you at Space Camp in Iceland.